Right, I think we'll go ahead and get started. I am Court Barber with MAPA. In the absence of a chair or vice chair, I will be chairing the meeting this morning. Welcome to TTAC. This meeting of the Metropolitan Area Planning Agency Transportation Technical Advisory Committee will be conducted in compliance with Nebraska Open Meetings Act. For reference, the Open Meetings Act is posted on the wall of the boardroom. We'll go and do introductions. We'll start up front. Scott, and kick us off with intros.
Scott Serrano, Department of Transportation. Mike Elgerson, MAPA. Kevin Carter, City of Omaha.
Laura Cincy, Nebraska DOT, District 2.
Austin Rouser, Omaha Public Works.
Adam Denny, Ellsworth, Alderman.
Alex Sig, HDR.
Eric Williams, NRD.
Matt Cox, Council Bluffs Public Works.
Dan Kugler, Douglas County.
Joe Susi, La Vista Public Works.
Sherry Labors, Omaha Metro Transit.
Mark Sturzman, City Planning.
Alex Evans, McKillen Public Works.
Jim Border, Mappa.
All right, thanks, everybody.
We'll let you all know.
Oh, yeah, that is true. Anybody who's online, I think we got probably 6 people on there. If you'd like to introduce yourselves, please go ahead.
Travis Hall, Iowa DOT.
Dave Codican, Bellevue Public Works.
Stone Green, DNA.
First item on the agenda is approval of minutes from the last 2 meetings. We didn't have a quorum in January, so we're asking for approval of both December 8th, 23 and January 19th, 2024. If anybody has any questions or corrections, there was a correction that was made to the December meeting minutes. There was a name issue. We had 2 names on one line. We corrected that in this version. So that's been updated. Austin. Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Fine, carries. The second item that we have on the agenda is, and we need to make an appointment to SUDAS. So this is the Iowa Statewide Urban Design and Specifications Board. Basically each transportation management area in Iowa can elect to send a representative to the urban design board for Iowa. Basically, they maintain manuals for design standards throughout the state, and typically we've nominated Jen Powers. That is the current. Well, I guess the position expired in December. Is that what they said? Position expired in December. We last did a nomination in 2022 around the same time. Unless anybody has another recommendation, that has volunteered to continue serving on the board. So if you, assuming that is still the case, we're asking for a motion to recommend someone to the SUDAS board, and we'll basically take this to our board and have an official nomination presented there.
I'll make a motion to nominate Matt.
All right, Scott, thank you.
Before the vote, just to clarify, you have to be an Iowa PE to serve on the board for SUDAS, and you should probably be familiar with procedures and practices in Iowa. So I assume that limits the pool.
In addition to the willingness to do it.
There is PE transferability, right? I'm just.
If you want to go through the process with the Iowa board.
Second.
It's for discussion. I would say that if anybody ever wants to turn that over, I think Kristen would probably be interested in the future. She's very interested in CS.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, I'm gonna pass it off to Jim Warner to talk about the critical urban freight corridor integration.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to talk to you about, very briefly, quick background here. The National Highway Freight Network, composed of several designations, the critical urban and rural freight corridors, in particular coordinated through the MPO with the state departments of transportation. We did this last for Iowa when they updated their state freight plan in 2021. It was right as the IIJA had come out, which talked about giving more mileage for each of these, but that hadn't been officially taken into account. We're just kind of doing some cleanup here. Again, there's several selection criteria. Iowa puts a standard and they basically rank these critical urban freight corridors across the state. In that ranking, we did happen to lose one segment, which I'll show you here later. And in our evaluation and subsequent work with Nebraska Department of Transportation, we found another corridor in coordination with the freight staff at Iowa DOT. We're bringing both of these to you here today. Quick snapshot of the updates that we made last. The red are these critical urban freight corridors, the solid green are the critical rural corridors, and then the dashes are the subsequent changes that we made in the last round in January. And really just to give some background here again on the primary highway freight system is generally the interstate system, but there are a couple of corridors that serve identified multimodal resources within our region. So specifically what we're coming to you here today, looking for a recommendation to the board, is to basically make the connection along Abbott Drive between the two segments on the Nebraska side, as well as adding back in River Road and actually extending it a little bit more to provide access to both the northbound and southbound ramps on I-29. So in closing here, just a little under a half-mile segment on Abbott Drive. This was really a priority when Federal Highway went through the last round of changes, was to make these connections that either close connections or, even more importantly in this case, close gaps between states. And secondly, the River Road is just a redesignation and a little bit of an extension to make sure that we provide that capacity to the interstate for Warren distributing and some other freight resources right along the river. So unless there are any questions, which I'm happy to answer, this would be the recommended motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All right, motion on the table to do all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Jim. Next up, we've seen this item on the agenda for a couple of months now. I'm just gonna keep kind of updating the committee on where we are for project selection and development of the 2025 TIP, all the way through June until we actually cross the finish line. So where we're sitting right now is the public comment period for the applications is open right now. It'll be open to the end of February. We've got the project selection meeting in April, and ultimately we'll bring the draft TIP with the new projects included in May of 2024, and then we'll, assuming no issues with the draft TIP, we'll bring the final TIP in roughly the same form in June, and then any jurisdictions receiving the boards should get those by July. We have also started project scoring. We've got, I guess you could say that they're half scored. We still have to do some of like the spatial components. So we're working on that. And as soon as we have those scores done, we'll send all of the applications as well as that initial scoring out to the selection committee members to review that ahead of the meetings. I'm hoping to have that done very soon. I'd like to get it to everybody well ahead of of that first meeting that's scheduled, so you can kind of look at all of the applications and kind of let the scores soak in and get a feel for it. I won't have scenarios for you immediately, I'd like to get the applications to you first. And we'll go over the scenarios. If I can get them to you a week ahead, I will, but it might be that we'll end up just discussing those in the meeting. We'll kind of see how it goes. And then the other piece will be, we'll wrap up all of the public comments that we get and give you those in the selection committee meetings as well. Again, those meetings are already scheduled. We've got them on the calendar early, so if we don't need the final meetings for both TAPC and PROSCOM, we have 3 meetings scheduled. If we don't need that third meeting, we'll mix it. So we'll see what we get through in the first 2 meetings, but I'm guessing we'll need at least 2 meetings for those. I think that was, yeah, that was about it. Any questions on the status of project selection and the draft tip?
How many projects are you reviewing?
We got 4 TAP/carbon reduction program projects. We got 6 mini grants, and we got 10 STBG projects. We got a decent number of applications. Yeah,
Court, what was the total request this now? Roughly.
it's in here. Picking up. Here it is. I doesn't bring it up. Slideshow. There it is. 20 total projects, actually, more than what I was thinking. And so yeah, about $131,000 or $131 million federal request.
And we don't have that.
No, we don't. Yeah, we don't even, through 2030, I'm not sure we quite have half of that, but close-ish. So yeah, we'll have to make some decisions. And then that's what those selection committee meetings will be for.
Public transportation, that's the Metro EV charging CRP, right?
Yes, that's correct. Any other questions? All right. Then I'm going to pass it back to Jim to talk about federal functional classification.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I came to this group last month, had some kind of questions on schedule and I think some more background explaining to provide, so that's why I'm looking to give you here today. Quick reminder, through TTAC and then the board, we did send an adjusted urban area boundary based upon the 2020 census updates. A note, there were some slight changes due to follow-on NDOT review, so that's what you're seeing here. And this is currently undergoing federal highway review with both Nebraska and Iowa. So we do have a map out there that you can take a look at. We're gonna update that and make available the functional classification there at the same time, so that you can see both of those. But I will look to give an example and kind of maybe spark some thoughts on what this process will entail for each of your jurisdictions. And really what I want to communicate here is this is very quick and there's a lot of steps. So we are going to have a federal functional classification working group, I would say 3 to 4 meetings, probably a lot of it loaded up front. But for those submissions that you would like to make, we're really looking at rounding those up in the month of March. And that includes kind of that from A to B, from intersection to intersection you want, but there's some underlying data that needs to be collected at the same time. Things like traffic volumes, some contextual pieces, and just other items that would help make a justification for the Federal Highway Administration submission. And that's why I'm really looking for individuals from each jurisdiction that would be knowledgeable and able to find that information to come together as a group at the same time. We'll just look to wrap this up nice and neat. We will do a round of reviews through TTAC and board. The first one will go in July, but there's some late work to get that through. And then we'll send them for the first round of review with Federal Highway. And this is what made us successful the last time we tried to do this, is giving Federal Highway an opportunity to look and ask questions and get those questions back to you. So that's why we're doing it so early. Our we don't want to be trying to chase down things at the last minute. So it's a lot of work up front. I appreciate your support. If there are any questions, happy to take those and go through it. But really what I need to do is identify individuals in your organizations that are going to be key to providing these inputs. And even if you don't know if you're going to have inputs to kind of be around and to understand the system. So we'll go through that second round, bring them back to August, and then looking through about a 5-week period for you to take these formal resolutions, whatever it is, to take through your approving body, and then to bring those back, collect them all up, and submit them to the corresponding departments of transportation to go to Federal Highway for their final approval. And the schedule is driven by Iowa DOT timelines, but it matches up well with what the state of Nebraska would like to do as well. So we're stuck with the schedule and appreciate your support in getting all this data collected. So I want to give an example here. So an illustration of what the urban area boundary change does. Again, that black outer line is that urban area boundary. The yellow is what has changed since the last go around. So a lot of western Sarpy County has become urban. And of note, the light, that green color there is a minor collector. Now we have a minor collector going from rural to urban, and you lose that functionality, what you can count on in the past to being eligible for federal aid. So those are those examples. I didn't put jurisdictional boundaries on here, but those have also changed over the past year. So we'll be looking to transfer roadways between jurisdictions, as well as, kind of that change in urban to rural. And, as we go through RESTEP and there are other planning studies as well, there might be an opportunity to identify roadways not currently classified that you want to have classified for future construction, or potentially changes, upgrades in classification just due to change in use. Something like a major collector to a minor arterial, for example.
And Jim, can I ask a question? Is it not privy to locals' interpretation of what that means? There are actual interpretations of what an urban collector is classified under federal functional classification, correct?
Yep. And that's what we'll look to share with this group. So rather than try to give all that information to the entirety of TTAC, we really want to work with those individuals. There's updated guidance, federal highway updates in every census boundary. So some of it will look the same. A lot of the pictures are the same, the descriptions, but what's unique about this go around is the ability to describe context. So if you can describe a roadway, it might not meet traffic volume now, it might not meet whatever, but I think there's more latitude to describe it, but I think there's going to be a higher bar for us to communicate that to federal highway, and that's why we want to start now. And I can definitely share that guidance as well with the meeting minutes, but it doesn't look too different, and I've not digested all of it yet, but we want to make sure that we're taking that into consideration as we make our selection to communicate. Yeah, Mark.
You said you want a representative from each jurisdiction?
Yes, please. That's the next
slide.
slide.
How to make that decision?
Next slide. So this is a Google form at the bottom there. It's pretty straightforward. A couple of questions, getting your contact details, and we might not know the answer, Mark, for every community yet. I don't recall who I worked with the last round of changes, but that person may have changed. So really, I'd just like to start having the conversation to get a distribution list, and we'll start sending out details, schedule a meeting, and get people identified.
And I think the piece here too is that at the top line level, it's kind of 3 to 4 MAPA meetings, but there's going to be some internal coordination within each jurisdiction as well. And I mean, that's kind of, I think, where probably for the MAPA meetings, at least somebody empowered to kind of know what your community is, but there's going to be kind of the offline coordination as well in terms of just making some of these key decisions and understanding, the context piece is new, digesting kind of what's in those that guidance, but comp plan updates, new committed projects, all of those things are contextual factors that may apply. They're things that we weren't able to take into consideration in the past, but as Jim noted, that summer review by FHWA, that's kind of the final. So we have sort of the state filter, we have the MAPA filter, we have the FHWA filter, and this schedule kind of gets us through all of those 3 things. So we get to make a recommendation, but ultimately it is FHWA who kind of signs off on this. We're trying to do this in a coordinated way. So you'll want somebody who's available to make those meetings, probably more importantly than having, you know, Joe Susie's of the world, who's, I've seen your calendars. They're busy, so.
I hope you're not salted if the entity does not send someone. Don't feel like do the share station thing.
Yep.
We're gonna define urban trails and rural.
But thankfully, we don't have to do that.
So, we can if you want, but.
Feels like a different thing.
Any other questions?
We have an update to the PRG. Who from MAPA staff is providing this update?
That would likely be me, since he's not here.
Very good.
Is there another slide? I believe we have. No, we didn't. We're gonna do it for now.
I just thought about the time.
Yeah, right now we're working on the carbon pollution emission grant from the EPA. And part of it is developing a priority climate action plan. We're working in lockstep with the city of Omaha and their climate action plan to develop this region-wide framework to prioritize where our carbon emissions are really coming from. So part of it was doing an inventory, deciding what sources are kind of the biggest factors for the entire region. And when I say region, I mean the 8-county region, 5 in Nebraska, 3 in Iowa. This is where my map is handy, but I'll skip that today. And then developing a framework for how we're gonna reduce those carbons. Now, why are we doing this? Why are we being involved in setting a regional priority for climate action or carbon reduction? The main reason is part of this EPA funding requires that we have a plan in place, and then there's this kind of implementation. We're approaching this implementation round in April. The applications are due. And so part of this two-step process is projects need to be identified in this priority climate action plan in order to be eligible to receive the second set of funding, the implementation fund. And so right now we're at the stage of, we're writing this PCAP, we'll call it the short name, the PCAP. And we're asking our member agencies, hey, what are some of the projects that you currently are working on or that you have in the horizon that will reduce carbon within our region? So for the most part, the 3-4 kind of priority sectors that we're looking at are mobile sources. So the big headline, the big goal is to reduce BMT. How do we go about doing that? Increase walking biking facilities, increase incentives for alternative modes of transportation, or electrify your fleets and vehicles, right? Those are kind of the 3 main subsectors that lead up to reductions in BMT. Under kind of the urban environment or the structures, we're looking at incentivizing weatherization projects and or looking at policies to help change the electrical flow of houses. In other words, how do we convert some of these old gas units to something more clean, such as electric? And or how do we incentivize localized solar and or large scale solar? Next is waste management. We're looking at how do we reduce organics into the flow and increase recycling, pretty straightforward. And then last but not least, we're following some of the strategies that the states bring together for agriculture. Those are the main sectors. If I may have missed something or there's something you're working on, please email me so that we can make sure that you become eligible for the future fund. That is pretty much it. Right now, the PCAP is in line to be, it's due to the EPA March 1st, so we don't have a lot of time
For the PCAP, but
for the
then,
PCAP.
and what about the final?
The final plan is due in 2 years from now, 2026 is a more comprehensive action plan. Again, taking some of the initial work that we did in this priority climate action plan and expanding it further. I don't know about future funding for that in terms of implementation, but that's due 2 years after this first scenario.
The EPA awarded these funds to the largest regions in the, basically the top 64 largest regions in the United States. And so Omaha, City of Omaha opted into this for the region. We came on as a partner to basically help facilitate the translation of their city plan into a more of a regional strategy that's encompassing of opportunities at a more regional scale. But from the start, the EPA, this kind of initial check-in on this preliminary plan was tied with eligibility for an implementation round of funding that was available in April. And I'll just note, really even across the city of Omaha and regional partners that we've been talking to, not a lot of readiness in our region to take advantage of that initial April round. So we're hopeful that there will be other opportunities, but there are partners that are looking at that implementation funding in April. We want to make sure that capturing those strategies at a high level. I mean, it doesn't have to be the specific project at a specific location, but as Carlos said, if you're looking at a weatherization project on the housing side, let's make sure that that strategy is identified. If you're looking at EV chargers, make sure that strategy is identified. Most of this pulls from existing plans, I would just note, just like the long range plan, all of those goals and strategies are in our long range plan. But we're just trying to make sure that communities don't miss out on this opportunity. It's part of the reason we brought to the table. Challenge is they did not, when they got the funding out to us 6 months late, they did not change the deadline. So it's been a very tough schedule. So that's a little bit more context. For more to come. This won't be we have a March 1st deadline, but it's not going to be the last year.
Questions, comments?
Cool. All right. Well, that brings us into member agency updates. I don't know where we would like to start. We'll start up front with pavilion. Anything?
Updates for me.
No updates? All right. No pavilion, Metro?
No, I can agree.
Did you have anything, Mark?
I'm ranting. I wasn't ready for that question.
Okay. We'll come back to you. Yeah, we'll come back. La Vista?
Probably just 2 projects. One is the Giles Road widening project. This is from the interstates. We're back southeast. It's about 120th Street, taking it from a 4-lane corridor to a 6-lane corridor. That is under design right now. That area is failing now and probably going to get worse. You get multi-sports complex that's completed. Should be running a full season this year. Smash Park will be open up this spring. We've got 2 hotels that have permits. 2 more that are under design review, and had another submittal for another hotel last week. So that area continues to explode out there. The other area we've got is 84th Street Streetscape. Our next step there is to get the underpass put in from the new Central Park over to where, if you're familiar with our city swimming pool, where that's at, connecting that area with an underpass there. Political landmine, we're dealing with that right now, is we're gonna have to take the swimming pool out this fall to complete that work, and it is not scheduled to be reconstructed until 27. So that is not gonna fund it.
No, thanks.
Those are the 2 big transportations.
And Douglas County?
Yeah, blow up. Swimming pool.
Sister city membership facility.
All right, only thing that of interest you find, we opened up some bids here recently. 222nd Street north of Q, which is gonna include a roundabout. Constructors out of Lincoln was the low bidder, there were a number of bidders, much under the estimate. And 204th and F intersection, a lot of development out on F Street. This is the first phase. It's basically the intersection of State Highway and the signals and adding some paving to the west, but, TAP was that contractor. It was a low bid and there was a lot of interest in it and it was a good bid. So it's competitive right now. If you got any projects, good time to take bids. Be my story.
Matt?
No update to that.
Okay. Eric?
Sorry, I'm gonna take one of the MDOT updates. The Highway 34 Flat Bridge Trail is under construction. The sheet pile for the abutment on the south side is done, utility conflicts resolved, things moving forward. So yeah, exciting stuff. Anticipated completion later this year. And we get both Papio and Lower Platte South are getting a lot of public communication about, hey, what's going on out there? So we are writing a blog news update to share with people about, see big equipment out there and you see a lane closure on the highway. That is speaking to the trail bridge, and it's moving ahead, so things are good.
Yeah, definitely include us when you make that update.
Yeah, work with Jen, we might post it today or maybe Monday, I went out a couple times, got photos and, yeah, good.
Yeah, just let us know.
Yep. That's it for now.
Austin?
Our big federal funded projects, probably the biggest thing we got going on right now, it's 168. This week, we had the full switch over, so all the traffic is in the southbound lanes. So we built the northbound lanes in 24. That's really going well. It's on schedule to be completed end of the year. It's gonna be a really nice project for us. And then the downtown connector Ped Bridge, it's we've got girder sets scheduled for March. So that'll be period abstract. It's looking good. I was just walking on it last week and they're making that connection to the existing Bob Carey Bridge and so it's coming along really nicely. By the end of the year, we should see some use of that facility, which will be really nice. A couple of locally funded projects we've got getting ready to go is 48th Street from Q to Harrison. That project had a pre-construction public meeting last week. That project has two roundabouts, one on Q Street at 48, the other one on 48 Y. So that'll be a nice upgrade to that corridor. They're locally funded through our street preservation bond program. We have an old county road section on F Street between 144th and 156th that's getting improved to a 2 and 3 lane section, concrete, full drainage, curb gutter. And that one has not been yet. Traffic signal projects through our CMAQ money, they're moving along. We've got another one getting ready to go soon. Spent a lot of time working on the streetcar.
For your information, so F Street, 140, the county was this close to improving it, and the city annexed that trailer park. We took that in, and Tom Doyle was the engineer at that time, so we're not spending any money to speed limits. That had been done 20 years ago.
Yeah, well, it's better late than never. At least we planted it right.
Yeah, everything fine.
Morris, DOT?
Okay, let's see, Highway 75, Murray Plattsmouth, it's all the lanes are open. There's still some work to do this spring. I think we got 13 northbound left-hand turn lanes to build. We should be better. And then the I-480 bridges, 20th and Missouri River, we're still waiting to make that closure. The weather breaks, hang overhead sign truss. That's gonna span the whole thing. That's gonna have sides on both sides, each direction. Let's see, North Freeway. Okay, Parker Street's open. Vinnie Street's open. Lake Street's been open. Sprague Street's been open. Hopefully they opened it up yesterday. And we're gonna close Bristol Street today. And that'll be closed until mid-June. And let's see, we still have some painting to do on those bridges. Heading north and up, down. Once we get to that, we'll also be doing night work, a little overlay of 75 itself. Okay. Let's see, Highway 50 from 370 to call it L Street. They want to start that March 11th. So that's all that work to going down Highway 50 from 370 to L Street. And Highway Dodge Street, 192nd Dodge. They want to start that March 4th. So we're not against it, so. March 4th, they'll be in there moving utilities out. And he's got all kinds of stuff on both sides of the road, big. They complain we didn't get in the plans or.
Who's the contractor?
Tab.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Are you guys changing to full color DMS on all the interstates around here? Like the overhead
Oh.
lights? I just noticed driving down here that two of them are now, well, they have the full color,
In Nebraska.
yeah, I-80.
Oh, I know, I have. Huh. Next time I go by, look at them. If they're on.
It's been time to have the WTCB take away our fun little high rises.
So, City of Omaha, we're planning department, we're wrapping up the active mobility plan effort, should be probably finished in April, and we're working on a climate action plan. There's been some open houses this week, there's still 2 more tomorrow, 9 AM to 11 AM at NCC's Fort Campus, in their Swanson Conference Center, and then tomorrow afternoon from 1 to 3 at Common Ground Recreation Center in Elkhorn. Yeah. That's all I have.
We'll do the math.
Right now, we're currently working in the Madison Avenue area on this Council Bluffs Interstate project. That is the final piece of the major construction that's going on with the Council Bluffs Interstate project. We'll have a little bit of a grading, building a noise berm, just west of South Expressway on the south side of the interstate in 25 and some seating and that type of thing. We are planning on having a grand opening at the Mid-America Center in Council Bluffs on June 11th, right after the commission meeting. We're trying to coordinate all that right now, so anybody that wants to come, you're welcome to come. And I think that's pretty much it for Council Bluffs.
All right, the billion here, I found my notes on the 2 federal projects we have going on. Portal Road, the section from 84th to 72nd, we sent our scope into DOT, so we're gonna be working on the scope of the scoping, so to speak. And then trail underpass project that's near 114th, underpass at 370 there. We're working for the final design, working on the final design of the scope, or the scoping the final design, so that's kind of where we're at with those 2 rooms.
Sorry, I'm a little rusty, so I wasn't ready. We've got 3 major planning efforts that we're participating in with partners. Yeah, I don't think Sarpy County's here, they're, otherwise they may mention those. One is called We Step, that's kind of the southwest part of Sarpy County, and looking at our arterial road networks. And that's to make sure that as Springfield, La Vista, Papillion, along with Sarpy County all grow together, the streets line up, they make sense, they're compatible. So that's an important project. And then the other one is the Southeast Sarpy Road Plan, kind of a similar effort. Both of those projects are tied to the Platte Road corridor, where Sarpy County has long been planning on how we could convert that to a limited access highway in the future. Recently made the decision to reduce the design speed from 70 to 60. That helps us a lot with, actually reduces the cost to half of what it would be at 70 miles per hour because of all of the grading that we do. So both of the We Step and the Southeast Sarpy Road Plan are how do we design our arterial road networks and our collective road networks in conjunction with this future.
All right. Mike, did you have something else you want to do now?
Do you want to just grab people that are online first?
Oh, yeah, sure. I know we had Bellevue online, and that might be about it. Oh, actually,
IODOT planning.
well, sure, yeah, I guess we'll start with City of Bellevue. Anybody, Dave or John, do you have a City of Bellevue update?
Well, I'd just like to reiterate what Dan Kudelek said. We did have a project go out for bid. We had, I think, more than a half dozen bidders. Prices were really good. we'll have a chip seal project going out the end of February, about the same time as Douglas County's chip seal project. We've again got several bidders that have called with interest, so looks like the climate is good. That's all I've got.
All right, yeah, and I think the only other member we had on there was Iowa DOT Central Office. Travis, you got anything for us?
I got nothing. It's just nice to see everybody.
Okay, on the MAPA side, the only thing that isn't covered here is we've got kind of upcoming meetings. One additional one that might be of interest to many of you here is our upcoming council of officials meeting on March, sorry, I just had the date, I didn't write it down. I believe it's March 13th. So that'll be held at Highlander at the venue. We're doing a legislative update, so kind of both states, Iowa and Nebraska, and just things that are relevant to our members, obviously. A lot of property tax proposals in both states coming through, but also some transportation related things with the bridge match program in Nebraska, some other changes around county roads and flexibility there. In addition to on the Iowa side, some stormwater changes around the SUDIS and other things as well. And so we're going to try to provide a little bit of a comprehensive update, but if you're interested in kind of talking directly to some of our legislative representatives, including our legislative representatives are kind of lobbyists and folks that work on behalf of organizations like MAPA and both state houses, good opportunity to do that. So just offering that invitation starts at 11, with lunch at 11:30. You can find information about that on MAPA's website as well.
Do you want to talk about the infrastructure hubs? February 22nd online.
Hey, Carlos, could you give an update on the infrastructure hubs?
UNO is sponsoring an online forum regarding infrastructure hubs. This will be NDOT, Kansas DOT, talk about infrastructure hubs. What infrastructure hubs are, basically, think of it as a statewide lending bank for local funds is one way to put it. It's one of the resources that we talked about when we had that meeting about how to fund infrastructure projects or different ways to fund. This is an additional opportunity to listen to what Kansas DOT and Nebraska DOT are doing on that. We'll send out more details when all this information goes out.
And I would say on that front too, there's a program called Regional Infrastructure Accelerators out of the Build America Bureau, where folks who came and facilitated that conversation that we had down in La Vista and presented at our annual meeting. And so MAPA has been in talks with NDOT and UNO about tapping into that. We don't really have kind of an update on that. Usually it'll probably be later this year. We figure out if there's really a path forward on that. But beyond just kind of financing tools, it's really kind of technical assistance, grant assistance for communities in the MAPA region. Really, how do we get over some of the hump of applying for some of these discretionary grant programs? They're kind of a high. And so really trying to work to build our capacity as a region. The MPO has a role in that. Folks at the NDOT have a role in that. The university is kind of a key partner in that as well. And some of the systems they provide. So kind of a proposal that's out there. Director Kramer presented to the MAPA board about it last fall. And so kind of stair-stepping our way to it. This is part of that partnership as well.
Do you have a date for that?
February 22nd, 4 to 5 p.m. And I am sending the report, we'll send it out.
Thank you for reminding me of that. About that.
Okay. Well, does anybody have any additional business?
Ruthlessly efficient. We did promise. Yeah.
I guess with that, the MAPA board will meet next Thursday. The next TTAC meeting is on March 22nd, and RTAC will be meeting. They won't be meeting until April, so we'll update you on that next month. With that, we're at the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll second it.
Sure. All right, we stand adjourned.